Hello, periods 1, 2, and 3. I want to review your virtual assignment. And I had you stop after number 15, and then we can pick up after we review 1 through 15. We'll do the word problems together. Okay, so starting at the top, go ahead and review. Number 1, your terms were 3h and 17. Coefficient would be 3 and constant 17. For number 2, a squared is a term, 9 is a term, and 7b is a term. Your coefficients, there's a 1 in front of that a squared and a 7 in front of the b, and 9 is your constant. Writing expressions using exponents, h to the 4th, 3f to the 2nd. Evaluating, it says show all your work, all your lines. For number 5, write the expression a plus 10. Substitute in for line 2. Start solving line 3. You should have got 15. For number 6, b equals 10 and a equals 5. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And number 7, BC, 2 letters next to each other means multiplication. So B is 10 and C is 3. So B times C, or 10 times 3, which gives us 30. Okay. On numbers 8 and 9, complete the tables. This is what we're throwing in for x each time. So here we're throwing in 2 for x. 2 times 4 is 8. Throwing in 4 for x. 4 times 4 is 16. Throwing in 6 for x. 6 times 4 is 24. Over here, these are the numbers that we're throwing in for x. Remember, order of operations, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6, minus 1 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10, minus 1 is 9. 2 times 6 is 12, minus 1 is 11. Write the phrase as an expression. Z decreased. Decreased means we're subtracting by 18. Sum means addition, the sum of 7 and 29. Y divided by 3. S multiplied by 3. If you wrote it like this, go ahead and change it. Normally the coefficient comes before the variable. And 10 less than x. Whatever x is, 10 is less than x, so x minus 10. Make sure you've got the correct order there. 10 minus x is not the same thing. Okay, so that's what we should have had on your virtual assignment. And now let's look at these word problems. The expression m divided by 3 is the distance each person runs in a relay. The m stands for miles. How far does each person run in a relay? That is 18 miles. So throw 18 in for m. So m divided by 3. Substitute in 18 for m. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. Each person runs 6 miles. The next one, the expression 10 times h plus 20 times p represents the amount in dollars that an insurance salesperson earns for working h hours, which means h represents hours and p represents the policies. How much does the salesperson earn for working 5 hours? So we're going to substitute in 5 for h, and selling 2 policies. Substitute in 2 for p. And then you can go ahead and solve. Make sure that you multiply before you add. 10 times 5 is 50. 20 times 2 is 40. Add them together. They earn $90. Your school rents a dunking booth for a carnival. The company charges $35 to rent the booth plus $25 each hour. So write an expression for the cost of renting the booth, $35 to rent it, plus $25 per hour. And then use the expression to find the cost of 3 hours. So we're going to substitute in 3 for the number of hours we're renting this booth. Remember, multiplication comes first. 3/4 is 75. And then 35 plus 75 is $110. Okay, so that was review from the virtual assignment. Now I want you to go in and I want you to find the next link, which is property notes. I've already got mine in Notability, so I will pull mine up. It should look like that. You may have to pause and go back and find this in Canvas and do a split screen. Okay. Let's go ahead and go over these property notes. A lot of this is just memorization, okay? The identity property, okay? If you think of your identity, think of yourself. Like, I identify as a teacher, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, okay? So identity, think of self. So identity property, numbers, the number doesn't change even after multiplying or adding or multiplying. So anything times itself is the same. It doesn't change. So 6 times itself is 6. 21 times itself is 21. In adding, anything adding or subtracting with 0 is itself. So identity, think of the word self. Maybe write that in. Anything times 1 is itself. Anything added or subtracted to 0 is itself. Okay. The next one you need to memorize is the commutative property. Commutative property. Think of the word commute. If you commute to school, it's how you get to school. So you may commute to school by the bus or by riding a bike, or your parents may drive you, okay? So think of the commutative property as commute, or to move from one location to the other. So you commuted to school this morning, or you're commuting to practice this afternoon. So think of commute as to move, okay? So commutative property of this one would be a multiplication. 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. Do you see what happened? The 3 moved to that side, the 4 moved to the front. So they just flip-flop positions. They moved positions. They commuted positions. They moved positions. Over here, 17 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 17. They moved. They flip-flopped spots, and the answer won't change, okay? The next one is the associative property. It's the grouping of add-ins. It doesn't matter, okay? When I think of the word associative, think of the word associate, okay? Who do you associate with? Okay? Think of the word associate, like who do you hang out with, okay? Here's my example. At school, I associate with Mrs. Defendants and Mrs. Pinkerton and Mr. Stewart and Mrs. Wolf and Mrs. Yoder. When I go home, I associate with somebody different. I associate with my husband and my son. On the weekends, I associate with other hockey families. So think of the word associate is who you're hanging out with, okay? So the associative property has to do with those parentheses. So it's, remember, parentheses always go first when you're solving. So it's who they're hanging out with. So look at the problem, 5 plus 7 plus 2. On the left side, the 5 is hanging out with the 7. On the right side, now the 7 is hanging out with the 2. Either way, it's 5 plus 7 plus 2 on both sides of the equation. Just different people are hanging out. On the left, 5 and 7. On the right, 7 and 2. No matter what, we're going to get the same answer. 5 plus 7 is 12, plus the 2 is 14. Or over here, 7 plus 2 is 9, plus the 5 is 14. So it doesn't matter the way in which we do the problem, we're still going to get 14. Same thing with multiplication. 5 times 6 times 2, 5 times 6 times 2. On the left, 5 and 6 are hanging out. On the right, 6 and 2 are hanging out. Okay, so think of associative property as who you're hanging out with. Okay, and then the last one's easy. Zero property. Well, 0 has to do with 0. Anything times 0 is 0. Okay, let's see if you can name that property. Okay. Okay. Ten plus 8 is 8 plus 10. No matter what, you're going to get 18. Which property says that we can change the order and the answer doesn't matter? 10 plus 8, 8 plus 10. Guys, that's the commutative property. Okay, it's the commutative property. They commuted, they moved spots, got the same answer. 16 plus 0 equals 16. Something plus 0 is itself. Self, that's the identity property. Okay? Anything plus 0 or minus 0 is itself. Or anything times 1 is itself. That's the identity property. Look at 3. It's got some groupings. On the left, 3 and 2 are hanging out. On the right, the 3 and the 4 are hanging out. That's the associative property. Who are they hanging out with? Who are they associating with? 4x times 0 is 0. Anything times 0 is 0. That's the 0 property. Number 5, 4x plus 0 is 4x. Anything plus 0, anything minus 0 is itself. That's the identity property. And the last one, there's some groupings. On the left, the 2's hanging out with the A. On the right, the 2's hanging out with the 7. That is the associative property. Who are they hanging out with? Okay, guys, so those are your property notes. Your last step today is to get into Canvas, download worksheet 13 for review, and you are going to complete worksheet 13. Alrighty? Use these notes to help you.